Just 10 cents a day helps fund local programs like Scenic Stops, Northwest Ohio Journal, and BGSU Brain Game. Watch, connect, explore.
The Sandusky County Jail was originally constructed between 1890 and 1892. The cornerstone was actually laid by President Rutherford B. Hayes, which makes it very unique. But what also makes it very unique is the fact that this jail also is the residence for the sheriff and his family. It was part of a reform movement at the turn of the century. So in the back half, we have 3 stories of cell blocks where everyone that was a resident of the county lived, and in the front half, the sheriff and his family lived. The first prisoners came in 1892, and the last ones were meted out in 1989. In the beginning, the sheriff's wife was doctor, laundress, cook, cleaner, psychologist, to all the prisoners in here, and she pretty much did everything by herself. All the meals were prepared on site. The sheriff, even though he was here and in the building, his deputies still did help out, and there was a separation between the 2 parts of the building, but often in the middle of the night, the sheriff would be called upon to either book a prisoner or just check on the building and make sure that everybody was where they were supposed to be. There was a young man who, I'm not really sure if he was under the influence of alcohol or drugs, but definitely something was going on. Came tearing in the sheriff's office one night and said someone had broken into his home and he needed some help. The tours are all organized and operated through the Sandusky County Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is located right here in Fremont. We give them once a month, and we give 5 tours each night. Right now we are starting the Jailhouse Rock Dinner Theater. The next part of the experiential tourism will be an evening with Edgar Allan Poe. So she took the children and went to her parents' house, and he followed them. The crime was so heinous and done in such a public manner that it actually made national news, which at that time was a newspaper, but the New York Police Gazette picked it up and ran the story. The gallows were last used to hang John Radford, who murdered his wife in Bellevue. Why they kept it, I don't know, but they did, fortunately for us. So we are actually creating an exhibition hall that will provide up close and personal view of how we hung people and some of the artifacts from the old jail and the dungeons. Before this facility was built, and actually before the dungeons were built in 1840, there was a series of log cabins used. One of them was even leased for just $20 a year. Unfortunately, it was pretty easy to escape from. They were digging underneath the walls and through the floor, and the residents got together and said we need to do something different. And first we had the dungeon, and then we have this facility that we're in right now. The main jail itself is actually complete, but the dungeons are in pretty rough shape. The doors were taken down in World War I, so all of that is missing. Our goal is to take the funds that come from this and slowly put new doors on, add bunks, and add the ambiance that would have been there in the 1840s, such as it was. The dungeons were built to house everyone. Whether you were a pickpocket or a murderer, you got stuck down here for the 16-year period that this facility was in use. During that time, there were a couple murders housed here, and the one story that seems to carry a lot of weight with our locals is the story of Joseph Sperry. He murdered his wife in a fit of jealous rage and initially escaped one of the log cabins that were being used as jails, but when he got down here, he was so ashamed of what he did, he had his young son smuggle in a straight-edge razor, and he went in his cell and slit his wrists and died here in the dungeons. We believe in the cell right behind me. On our very first public tour, we had a very interesting bit of phenomena happen. The following day, a young woman called and said, "I've got something on film." And she sent me the picture, and she had captured an orb. An orb is kind of a ball of light that acts in the same manner a UFO would. It kind of zips around, and this one was very well formed and very clear in the picture, and it looks like it came off the wall right here behind me. What makes this much more unique than, say, visiting Lake Erie or going to Put-in-Bay is that this is a piece of our past that we need to understand so we don't repeat it in the future. Plus, it's an awful lot of fun. The worst part of it is George Thompson knew what Joseph was going to do and let it happen and never said a word.
Scenic Stops is brought to you by WBGU-TV. Support great local programming by giving now at wbgu.org/pledge.